And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
If this was an exciting movie, at this point in time you would see me smirk, push all my chips forward, say that I'm all in, and look smugly at the other person. Then when the final thing is revealed, I would reveal that lo and behold, 4 jacks, tossing the cards aside with cheers, maybe a gunfight. But poker seems to me like it's a lot more exciting in the movies than it actually is in real life. I have all these really nice poker chips, but I don't actually use them for poker. I use them as money in other games that come with that annoying paper money. But, I hear that poker is much more exciting when you play for real money. I don't really want to do that. And I know a lot of people like poker, and Texas Hold'em's very popular. But I'm looking for some kind of variant on the game because I do like the idea of the full house and the 2-pair and the different hands that you can get. And a few games have done that. And one game is Rapscallion. Rapscallion's a small game from a small publisher, Bezier Games. And it takes a deck of cards. Now, if you look at this deck of cards, and I'll spread those out, and you can see there's different suits in this deck that are not the same as your normal suits. You have coins, you have bottles, you have swords, and broken hearts. And swords are better than coins, are better than hearts, are better than bottles. But it's basically the same distribution as a normal deck of cards. I'm not sure why it's different other than maybe just to fit the theme of the game, Rapscallion. Who knows? These people look like, I suppose, not from an ancient era, but from this era of mystique and intrigue. Does the game even give a date on it? No, not really. So, what players are trying to do is make the best poker hand each round. And a round takes place of several phases. At the beginning of each round, players get a hand of 5 cards. You can see the cards. 3 of them have numbers on, and 2 are Rapscallion cards. These are your bidding cards. Then, during most of each round, what will happen are 5 cards will be turned face up. Or 4 cards are face up and 1 card is face down. And players can see these cards, and they're trying to determine which cards they want to add to their hand. Players will start with 1 card, and so maybe that gives you some kind of guesswork on how you want to build your hand. And before players are taking any of these cards, they're going to take one of these bidding cards and set it aside as their side bet. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But for now, players are all going to simultaneously play one of their betting cards face down, or bidding cards face down. You turn them face up. Whoever plays the highest card takes one of these cards and adds it to their hand. Whoever plays the second highest takes one, etc. So you can go for the face down card and hope it's what you need, or you can take one of the face up cards. And so you're slowly building your hand. Whenever you use one of these bidding cards, it's set aside, and you can't use it again until a certain point in each round where you get all the cards back into your hand. When that point of the game comes, players will be using one of these playing cards that they've gotten to get more bidding cards. There's yellow bidding cards. These are like neutral ones, and you can add them to your hand. Hopefully you won't get a 1, because that doesn't give you much power in future bidding. Hopefully you'll get the 30, but to do so, you'll have to give up a good card from your hand, maybe a king or something, to get a good bidding card. So there's some trade-off there. And those Rapscallion cards, they're higher than everything. If you play a Rapscallion card, you automatically have the highest unless more than one player plays a Rapscallion card. Then they all cancel out, and then you each have to play a different card, and then see who gets to pick cards from the middle first. So that's an interesting thing. You keep doing that until you get 8 cards in your hand, and then when you have 8 of these cards at the end of each round, you look at them and you make the best poker hand that you possibly can. At that point, scoring occurs. Whoever has the best poker hand gets 20 points. Whoever has the worst poker hand loses 10 points. Whoever put the highest bidding card on the side gets 15 points. So a Rapscallion will get you that 15 points, unless, of course, 2 people put a Rapscallion out, in which case no one gets any points. Or, those 2 people don't get points. It goes to the next highest person. You can put a high card in your side bet and hope to use it later on, and to win that 15 points. But you're also taking that out of contention for you using in the round to get cards that you need. A few hands will give you extra points: 20 points for a straight flush or 4 of a kind, 15 points for a full house, 10 points for a flush, 5 points for a straight. And you think, well, those are very rare hands. Yes, in poker, all those hands are rare. But in this game, since you have 8 cards, and since you're picking the cards, or at least hopefully picking a few of them at least, you usually can get one of those hands. A straight flush is not uncommon. 4 of a kind is not as rare as it is. And when I play those 4 jacks, that's a pretty big deal. But in this game, it's not. So how does the game play? My feelings on it are positive. I like it. I like the idea of bidding. I love simultaneous bidding, where everyone puts a card down and turns it over, and I like that idea. I like building your own poker hands. Sometimes, though, it doesn't matter how well you bid, you just don't get the cards you need. The cards that face up, and you're trying to make the best hand you can out of garbage, basically. And putting that together just doesn't work. The rules are fairly well. They're on one side of each page, and really, they just don't seem to explain the game as well as I'd like them to. I mean, Ted when he wrote these rules, he assumes that you know more about poker. Like at the beginning of the game, it says each player draws one face-down card. Do you get to look at it? Does it go in your hand? It doesn't say. And things like, I think the rules, I know they were trying to keep them short, but I think it could have been better explained. A lot of things we kind of just had to deduce. And I think when you read this, it also assumes that you know what all the poker hands are. And I guess maybe I'm assuming that my listeners know what the poker hands are. But I wish it had been a little bit better explained. Most people that I played the game with said, it's not a bad game, pretty fun. But no one seemed to go bonkers over it. I didn't see anyone saying, oh, this is the greatest game ever. So we're not seeing, great cheers and excitement. But it is a decent game. For me, I like games like this better than poker. Especially, I like the idea of building your own poker hand. Now, there's other games that use poker hands, namely the one that comes to my mind is the 100 Years' War from Havoc, the 100 Years' War from Sun River Games. And that one is just an absolutely good, tremendously excellent game, building poker hands. This one is merely a good game, but it's a decent one. And if you like the idea of bidding and adding poker hands into the mix, then I suggest you try it out. So if you're interested, it's a small game, might be worth your time, depends on how much you like the idea of poker hands and building them yourself. Rapscallion. I like it.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.